Hey, good evening, everybody. I apologize for the mess. We're in the midst of getting all our Christmas stuff up. Kids put the tree up last night, and I've got everything laid out. It's late. It's about 11 p.m., and I'm leaving at about 5:30 in the morning for my late season elk hunt. I've got a cow tag. Tomorrow is November 30th. Now, we don't really have any snow to speak of yet here this year, but oftentimes for this late season hunt, there's quite a bit of snow on the ground. So I just thought it might be beneficial for any of you that are thinking about hunting out west next year or a late season tag to get a feel for what I take when I'm going to be on the mountain for a full day. And I thought I would just start with the pack. So everything you see around me, and I know the camera can't pick it all up, but I'll show it to you individually. Everything will get packed in this Alps Outdoors pack. It'll carry everything I need to carry to be on the mountain all day. The only thing I won't have is my rifle case. Now, obviously I'll have my rifle with me on the pack, but not the case itself. So let's start off with the most important thing besides my gun probably, and that's my cow tag. So this is the license that I have I have to tag the animal with when I harvest one. So if we're fortunate enough to get into some elk tomorrow, I want to make sure I have that. So I just put that right in this inner pocket, so I know it's not lost and I know I have it. So after that, let's talk about my firearm. I shoot a Remington 270 bolt action, and so I will have that on the outside of the pack in the holster that it goes in, and I'll show you guys what the pack looks like when it's all ready to go. Obviously I need to take ammunition, so I will have box of ammo. I'm shooting 150 grain Remington core lock bullets. That's what I've always hunted with ever since I started hunting, and so they've always served me well. I'll have a box of those in my pack, and then I keep 4 additional shells that I'm able to put in this hip pocket. So if I have to get to them, I mean, I have four rounds in the rifle itself, so I mean, heaven forbid I need more than 4, but you just never know. So if I need to get access to more quickly without having to take my whole pack off, I keep 4 in this hip pocket right here. I also take with me a little .22 pistol. I keep this holster on the outside of my pack as well. I've got rounds in it, and then a couple of extra rounds that I also keep in this front belt pocket. The reason I take this with me is it is still grouse season, and so I've got some of CCI's quiet .22 ammo in that. It really doesn't make a noise much louder than a BB gun. It's pretty quiet. So if I happen to see a grouse or a cottontail rabbit while I'm out and I want to harvest one of those without making a lot of racket, that's why I carry this with me as well. So this is just my little Heritage Arms single action .22 pistol. And then the last thing related to my firearm, I guess you could say, are my shooting sticks. So these are some collapsible shooting sticks, and I store these just right here in this side pocket just inside of my spotting scope. So that's the firearm that I carry, the ammunition we'll carry, the little handgun I carry for grouse. Let's talk next about optics. So I will have my spotting scope in there. That goes in this padded pocket, just like so. I also have my Vortex binoculars with the chest harness, so these will not be on my pack, but these will be around my chest. And this is my Bushnell rangefinder, or sorry, my Nikon rangefinder, and I keep this in the other belt pocket so I can access that rangefinder without having to take my pack off. So that's the optics that I'll have with me. Now, the tripod that I use for my spotting scope, excuse me, the camera is currently sitting on it, so I'm not going to show you that, but I'll have that tripod packed on here tomorrow as well. I'll also be taking this cow elk call. I also keep that in my belt pocket as well so I can access it without having to take my pack off. As far as knives are concerned, I have this bone saw. I keep this bone saw in the pocket that's up against my back. I've got my Havalon bolt with 3 blades because typically 1 blade will get me through a deer, but I usually need 2 blades to get through an elk, and I just have a third on there just to be better be safe than sorry. And then I also have an additional multi-tool that has a blade on it as well if for some reason I needed another backup. So that's what I pack as far as blades, and I keep these in the main compartment of my pack. Next we'll move on to just safety items. So I take some flagging tape that I can peel off a little piece and tie it to a limb if I need to mark a place, in addition to onyx and some other stuff that I do. So I always take a little flagging tape with me, or if I want to mark a place on a trail where I was following blood or something like that. So I keep that. I've got a life straw. I pack plenty of water, but you just never know, so I take this life straw with me. I've got 2 different headlamps. I always have a spare just in case something funky happens and one malfunctions on me. I did just check the batteries in these, so they've got fresh batteries in these as well. And again, I keep these in this main pocket. And that life straw I keep down with the bone saw. I've got a first aid kit. So this has some matches in it, ibuprofen, aspirin. It's got a lighter. It's got some Neosporin. It's got an emergency blanket, a few things like that. And then I also have what I basically call my fire kit. So this has a couple of creosote soaked fire starter sticks in it. It's got some dryer lint in it in a Ziploc baggie, waterproof matches, and 2 different lighters in this as well. And then lastly, I have another spare emergency blanket. The reason I carry 2, if I just really needed one I could wrap up in. This one I would use as a tarp. And so I have some string that I also take with me. And that string you can use for a ton of different things. You can tie stuff on your pack with it. You can tie a leg off to a tree if you're trying to quarter an animal by yourself. I use a little piece of it to tie my tag to the carcass. So I always have some string or paracord with me as well. Now, because this is a late season hunt and temperatures can be cold, I want to have at least one warm meal when I'm up on the mountain, just to kind of get refreshed and get some warm food in me. So I've got my little Coleman Max backpacking stove. I've got a can of blended fuel. I've got my pot for boiling water. And then food-wise for tomorrow, we'll do Backpacker's Pantry. This is mashed potatoes and gravy with beef. So that'll be my warm meal. Sometimes I'll take a Lipton cup of noodles so I can drink the broth. It's nice and hot, just kind of depends. But tomorrow I'm going to do the mashed potatoes and gravy with beef. Got a couple of packs of crackers, peanut butter crackers here. Some Tex-Mex trail mix, Mountain Man trail mix, and then a sweet and salty cashew granola bar. So that's what I'll be taking up on the mountain for snacks. I've got 5 bottles of water here. I keep 1 in each batwing pocket, 1 in this side pocket right here, and then 2 in the bigger pocket. Now, of these 5 bottles of water, 4 of them are to drink, and the 5th one is for cooking. So that's what we're taking tomorrow as far as food is concerned. If my water looks a little cloudy, you may not see it from there. It's because I've added some stuff called 4 salts to it to help me keep from cramping. And then I do also have a great value peach mango green tea that's got some caffeine in it and stuff. So if I need a little shot of energy, I'll have one of these up there as well. All right, we're down to the final couple of items. So I will pack this pair of gloves. This is kind of my light pair. I'll actually wear a heavier pair when I hike up in the morning, so those will just be on my hands, but I'll have these in my pack for later in the day when it starts to warm up. Trekking poles. Now, I don't always take trekking poles. When I'm shed hunting, I always do. When I'm hunting, If I'm carrying my rifle just on my shoulder, I don't use my trekking poles. If I have my rifle strapped to my pack, then I will use my trekking poles. Kind of depends on how steep the area is, how thick it is. Tomorrow I am planning to take my trekking poles and we'll have the rifle strapped to the back of my backpack. I also always take rain gear. If there's any sort of forecast for precipitation, I'm going to take some rain gear. And if I'm going to be gone more than one day, like on an overnight, then I take it even if there is no rain forecasted, just because obviously the further out the forecast, the less accurate it is. And then lastly, snowshoes. These are just some Yukon Charlie snowshoes I got at Sam's Club years ago. They've always served me well. I am not taking these snowshoes tomorrow. We've had just very, very little snow. I mean, I can see with my binoculars how much snow is up there where I'm going, and there's basically not any. So I'm not taking those tomorrow, but on many of these late season elk hunts for this unit that I've drawn, it's definitely a benefit to have snowshoes when you get on some of the north-facing slopes. So I'm going to get the rest of this stuff packed away and then just show you what it looks like on the pack, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So there's the full pack, fully loaded. The only thing that's not on there are the snowshoes because I'm not taking them tomorrow. If I were taking the snowshoes, I would unzip this part of the bag and they would slide in there. So I've got the rifle strapped on, got the camcorder and the tripod. And then right now I'm filming with the GoPro, and the GoPro I just wear on my head with the little head strap. So we're going to be all set to throw that on and throw it in the truck in the morning and hit the mountain. Wish me luck. I want to apologize for how dark and grainy the first part of this video was. I didn't really realize that as I was recording it, as I was editing the film. It was darker in there than I thought. So thanks for hanging in there with me on that. I apologize. I want to wrap this up with the channel shout out and the Minute on the Mountain. The channel I want to shout out today is Mark J. Larson Outdoors. He has an awesome channel right now. He's in trapping season. Just watched a couple of his videos yesterday where he caught some coyotes, caught a skunk, which could have been a messy situation, caught several raccoons. He also does hunting, does some fishing, I've seen a couple of cooking videos, so just a little bit of everything. You know, obviously a lot of outdoors content. Great guy, great channel. I'll put a link in the description to his channel, so please check him out when you get some time and tell him Minute on the Mountain sent you. The Bible verse that I want to talk about for the Minute on the Mountain is going to come from 2 Timothy, and I'm just going to read it to you. It's going to come from chapter 4, and it begins in verse 2. It says, "Preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. For the time will come when people will put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear." Man, I don't know if I have ever seen anything so accurate as we see in today's culture as that passage. There are so many people who just surround themselves with individuals who just say what they want to hear, whether that's from a spiritual or theological standpoint, or even just a day-to-day practical application of how we're supposed to live. So this is a challenge to us to be prepared to preach the word. Paul tells Timothy to be prepared in season and out of season. I think that what that means is always be prepared. So one of the ways for us to be prepared is to be in the word ourselves. We can't be prepared to teach the word unless we're in the word, unless we're hiding God's word in our heart. And I think the second part of that is we need to be alert. You know, God isn't calling every single one of us to stand up behind a pulpit on a Sunday and teach the word. But God's calling every one of us to teach the word. That could be in your family, that could be among your friends, that could be in the checkout line. We have so many different opportunities just to speak truth to one another. And so how do we do that? It says that we do it with great patience and careful instruction. You know, there's times when people ask me questions about the Bible that are hard, and I have to sometimes say, I don't know the answer to that. I want to be careful not to give them an answer that I think is right or is just off the top of my head and make it sound dogmatic. So if it's something that I'm confused on, I want to be honest with them and say, hey, that's a great question. I'm not 100% sure. I had a conversation with a young man earlier this week where he asked some really, really tough questions, and I felt like I could answer most of them, but there were a couple that I just said, hey, that's a great question, and I don't really know. I know that God is God and we're not. I know that his thoughts are above my thoughts and his ways are above my ways, and I know that he's good, and I know that I can trust him. So that's the Men on the Mountain for today. Be prepared in season and out of season to preach the word with great patience and careful instruction. And hopefully that's a little bit of what happens on this channel. That's certainly my hope and prayer. If it's not, it's time for me to quit doing it. So, but I think it is, and I think from the feedback I get from you guys, it is. So thank you for all your support. Sure appreciate all of you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit that subscribe button. Click the bell so that you know we've got a new video coming out. And thanks so much for coming along. God bless you guys. We'll see you the next time we're out on the mountain.